Hello everyone, it is Tuesday. We are live here on YouTube. I'm going to be discussing Arne Slot's transfer priorities when he is finally 100% confirmed and comes in through the door. We had a good chat about what Klopp's sort of handover messages would be to him at the back end of the Redmen Originals podcast yesterday afternoon. And yet it's one of the things that's been really sort of like burning in my brain. There's a couple of news stories that have come out in the last sort of 24 hours or so, and a couple of like Liverpool players talking about this kind of stuff, and just some general articles which I thought all filtered into it. So I'm going to read through the news stories and then we're going to have a bit of a discussion on that. Before we do all this, it is a new month. It's well into a new month. We should have done this already, but we have this signed Liverpool shirt. It's a Liverpool away shirt from 04-05, the Istanbul season, signed by Neil Mellor. That is our club legend prize for this month, just gone. We've got the wheel of names up. I'm going to spin it and we're going to find out who is going to be having that wonderful little piece of Liverpool memorabilia there. And the answer to that big question is Gareth. Presumably we have more information than that back of house, but Gareth is the winner of our signed Liverpool shirt. Well done, mate. Fantastic. Steve will be sorting that out for you and making sure that wings its way to you very, very soon indeed. We've got a new competition that's currently running. If you go to redmenplus.com and join up, we try our best every month to give away a signed piece of Liverpool memorabilia. Sometimes it's just something really cool or whatever, but yeah, we've had a rather prolific run of this of late, so yeah, perfect time, particularly with all the Arne Slot stuff. We've got loads of amazing content, and if you join as a captain tier, you get all the content, but if you join as a legend tier, least of all, you get entered into these competitions every single month to get your name on the wheel of names. So do it. Right. I'm going to start then with this article from thehardtackle.com, which I have vetted. It is not pornography. Or maybe it will be if this guy turns out to be really good. They have said Liverpool are in contact with the agents of Willian Pacho, who is valued around £50 million by Eintracht Frankfurt ahead of the summer. According to the Mirror, Liverpool are prioritising a move for Pacho ahead of the summer and have already initiated contact with agents of the Eintracht Frankfurt centre-back. The Ecuadorian defender has plenty of other suitors, including Arsenal, but the Merseysiders are likely to begin with their push for the centre-back, who will cost £50 million. They're set to begin a defensive overhaul once the currently disappointing season comes to a close. I'm going to paraphrase a bit of this because I just read it out in full on the podcast, and there is a lot of repetition in here. This is an interesting little side note on this. So, recent reporters insisted that incoming Liverpool manager Arne Slot wants Gonzalo Inacio as his preferred option for the left-footed centre-back role. However, it appears that Eintracht Frankfurt's £50 million rated William Pacho could have emerged as a priority target for Liverpool. They reiterate that Arsenal are in the race for him as well. Liverpool could propose a buy-to-loan offer, which Frankfurt will likely reject. Liverpool are already in contact with his agents, which shows they intend to bring him in. They go on to talk about defensive overhaul and say that Van Dijk's future is uncertain. Gomez might consider a move to London as well. And obviously, Joel Matip expected to depart, meaning that Liverpool will be in the market for maybe two centre-backs. Something that we talked about a lot last summer. It was a left-sided centre-half role, and that's one thing that they've really highlighted here. We'll come back to this because I do think this is a really interesting conversation to have, but that's that for now. Another topic for debate sprang up from Sky over the weekend in their football coverage. Jamie Redknapp and Daniel Sturridge weighing in on this. Liverpool Echo covering this, saying Redknapp and Sturridge disagree on Liverpool rebuild priority as two deals eyed, and a absolutely impenetrable wad of adverts around the Echo website as well. So we'll get that off the screen, Chloe, because it's just absolutely unbearable to look at. So I will bear the burden for you guys at home by looking at it so that you guys don't have to. Anyway, yes, Jamie Redknapp has said that the one thing is, when you look at the contract situation, talking about Mohamed Salah, there are players, they've got obviously Trent and Virgil van Dijk, they've only got 1 year left on their contract. I think I won't be surprised if Mo Salah goes in the summer. I can see now that he's 22 in June. He means he's 31. That's another way to say that. I wouldn't be surprised if, and I think with Liverpool maybe getting the money the right money, and they're not going to say they're going to sell him. I just see it looked like he was going to go last year. While Salah would be a priority if Redknapp were in charge at Liverpool, Daniel Sturridge has insisted it's Alexander-Arnold who should be the focus. The right back has once again starred despite an injury-disrupted season. He says, or said, that's a tough one because I think all the top clubs around Europe are going to be sniffing. Then you've got Liverpool, who I think they've got to do everything in their power to get him, Alexander-Arnold, to sign on the dotted line. You can't lose a man of Trent. You know, he's from the city. You're talking guys like Steven Gerrard or Jamie Carragher who have represented one club, and I think that's what you kind of want for Trent. Of course, Mo Salah and Verge, they're guys that you know they've brought in. They've been absolutely world class for the football club. But the local lad in Trent, who's become a superstar at the football club, he's the one you want to make sure. Interesting. And yeah, those are the three, you know, the big contracts that are going to be up for discussion this summer for a variety of different reasons and how pressing they might be. But yeah, something to bear in mind when we come to the conversation. What are you doing in that? Salah currently the top earner at the football club, Virgil van Dijk the second top earner, and Trent probably the best player of our non-formally established elite. You know, when you consider it's Virgil, Alisson and Salah, who are our, you know, true senior, have been best in class in the world in their positions. And Trent's been that, by the way, but again, you're talking about guys who've been at the peak, have had their peak years and are now where they are. Trent has entered into his peak years, 25 years old, vice captain of the football club. Where does that all factor in for you? We'll discuss that in a sec. Right, okay, moving things on. Another little interesting article from the Liverpool Echo. Keith MacDonald has written this one about Liverpool's returning loan stars. And it's going to be interesting to see what decisions get made on them. And a few of the names that listed here. We've got Tyler Morton, who was at Hull City. And they say, Tyler Morton made 41 appearances across all competitions as he underlined his talent and impressive durability by featuring in a range of midfield roles as the Tigers came agonisingly close to securing a place in the playoffs in the final weeks of the season. You've also got Fabio Carvalho, who had a failed loan spell at RB Leipzig in the first half of the campaign after just making 158 minutes of Bundesliga action, they say, before then joining Hull City and having a better run of it. 9 goals in 20 appearances in his time there. Definitely speaks a little bit more highly of that. He said, it'll be a fresh start for me and for the likes of Tyler as well. We've just got to take the chances that come, really grasp it and take it with both hands, he told the Echo last week. Tyler and I have spoken about the summer, especially after the news came out about Jürgen. We just spoke about what could potentially change at the club. Ultimately, it's a fresh start for both of us. We'll just go back there with nothing to lose and everything to gain. Really interesting comment from Carvalho. What do you make of him? Is he someone who's going to have a future at the football club? Would you be looking to get him in? And if so, where? Sepp Vandenberg, another one. Constantly out on loan. Signed from Pek Zwolle in 2019, made just 4 first-team appearances for Liverpool. Spent the last 3.5 seasons having impressive loans at Preston, Schalke, and now Mainz. With a Dutch coach coming in, is he someone who should be considered? And then the one last one here is Nat Phillips, who you imagine will be on the way out the door, but can Liverpool generate some funds for him? It remains to be seen. Oh, well, one more, sorry, Luke Chambers, who's had, by all accounts, quite a decent chance at Wigan as well. Dan Clubb has just recorded an expert insight with a Wigan journalist as he begins his loan sort of watch wrap-up series. So if you want to find out more about how Liverpool's players have performed while out on loan, then do head to redmenplus.com. Dan will have you covered with all of that stuff. Right, let's have a little look then at some of the players that we've mentioned. First and foremost, William Pacho. So, yeah, 22 years old, Ecuadorian. He's a good height, 1.87 metres, puts him at around 6'3"-ish, which is sound. 10 caps for Ecuador, 2 goals in that time as well. 42 appearances this season across all comps, 31 in the Bundesliga, which are really strong numbers. 3,800 minutes is around what Virgil van Dijk has played, and Virgil van Dijk, he'd say, has probably played slightly too much for us this year. But yeah, that's good. Shows a level of durability that we haven't had in a lot of Liverpool centre-halves in recent years. In fact, there's only 1 game there from the Bundesliga this season he's missed, and I actually don't know the reason for that, and that was against Cologne. But basically, he plays the 90 whenever he plays in the Bundesliga this season, which is very encouraging indeed. stats-wise from him. Let's have a little closer look at him. In terms of his overall stats, FB ref, in terms of like he's actually on the ball and creative stuff, he's in the 94th percentile for centre halves in terms of assists, which is not necessarily something that's huge. Expected assists and all that kind of stuff. Shot creating action's pretty decent, but actually what you're seeing from this is looks comfortable on the ball, make a good attempt at passes. Progressive passes are good. Progressive carries is pretty good. Successful take-ons is good. Doesn't take the ball in the opposing penalty area, which is great because that's not really one from a centre half. But then actually you've got down the other end, tackles, interceptions, blocks, clearances, all in the 78th and above percentile. Doesn't look great in terms of aerials, which is something to have an eye on, particularly because the Premier League, that's very much something you need at centre half. But I don't want to. I'm just reading the stats there. I don't want to read too much into that just now. The name that was mentioned there was Gonzalo Inacio. Now, this is interesting because he's very much, by a lot of people, seen as like he's been the top target for most people this summer. But looking at him, non-penalty goals is up there. His passing and pass completion, progressive passes, progressive carry, successful take-ons, sensational levels from him. Tackles are okay, but actually his defensive interceptions, blocks, clearances, aerial ones are not as great. Now, what's interesting on this is that he's not counted as being in one of the top 5 men's leagues. So actually his stats are being compared to the men's next 14. I talk about this a lot. His stats are being compared to players who play in the Championship and players who play in MLS and who play, I think that's the German second tier, and in the Dutch league and what have you. So it's a little harder to rate. And I was going to get them up, and I'll just do it just for talking point's sake, but just to compare the two players. So actually Pacho compared to Inacio, what you're seeing there is what we've already said in terms of the spider diagram. Inacio's actual on the ball ability is stellar, but again, he's playing against a lower caliber of footballer, so it's hard to know whether he's just an outstanding player, outstanding head and shoulders above, and therefore that would translate or not. But Pacho looks decently rounded. So yeah, definitely food for thought in that one. So yeah. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys, and I've got a few sort of criteria for this. It's like, who gets a new deal? Who from the loans deserves a fresh crack at things? What is 100% missing from this Liverpool squad? And then who are the outs and who are the upgrades? And to define that, what I mean is, by 100% missing is a priority. You buy a player and even it's almost not necessarily that they need to come in and be super world class. We're just missing it. So Liverpool 100% needed a defensive midfielder last summer because Fabinho and Henderson were our 2 DMs and they left. So Endo becomes that de facto. We need a player. Is there someone in that squad that, is absolutely, without a doubt, just walk straight in because we just need to buy for that position? And then outs and upgrades means there's someone like Kostas Tsimikas, just to pick an example. Does he move on? And therefore, do you need to buy someone in to replace? So outs and upgrades. So who's improving upon the first 11 and who's been brought in to replace someone you're selling out? Let's start with number 1. Who gets a new deal? That'll be our first conversation. So yeah, just put 1 in your answers in the comments on here, and I'll read through some of the best answers and all. This is an example. Mikey J here just says Van Dijk gets a new deal. Trent and Salah turned down extensions. Carvalho and Sepp deserve a chance in pre-season. Cash in on Kelleher and Tsimikas. Broad range in there. You've jumped across all the points, but that's like largely what I'm looking at. So I want to know, from Trent, from Virgil, and from Mo Salah, what are you doing there? Are you renewing all 3? Is there someone that you're going to play a little bit of chicken on there, perhaps, and go for it? So Nathan Weiss here says Trent is top of the list without a doubt, which I think is, that for me is massive. Now, would you be willing to let Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk leave on a free next season? Is another consideration for this. So my thoughts, actually, let me just read this last one. Scouse Gamer Andy, renew all 3, absolute no-brainer. Here's the concerns. Here's why you maybe don't renew all three, because Liverpool have done this in the past. And whenever we've had big changes at the football club, they've taken longer because we've had really established stars who were on big wages, but maybe weren't delivering at that kind of level. So the strongest example of that was Steven Gerrard. So it would have been the highest wage earner of the club, had been the best player in the country, one of the best players on the planet, certainly the best player at the football club, captain, icon, yeah, fully deserving of his wage up until the point where he's not anymore. So his last season, what you find in Gerrard is, increasingly substituted and not starting games of football, being phased out of the team, but he's earning the most money at the football club. And then you've got an issue there. What do you do? And what Liverpool won't want is wage budget being eaten by players who don't get on the pitch. And that's the problem with giving big wages and longer contracts to older footballers, is they start to break down. And even if they're not breaking down, their value to the team is not the same as it was a few years ago. So look, Salah has played a lot of football this season, even despite of the injury. Is he going to be playing 90 minutes twice a week next season? If the answer is yes, and he's going to be fit and available for that full season, then the contract extension is less of an issue. But your worry is that if he's not available to do that, and then he starts to get a few injuries, and if he's got 3 or 4 years on a ridiculously high contract, the level of football club that you can offload him to is becomes very, very small. Sam Walker says, Trent 5-year contract, Van Dijk 2 years, sell Salah. Woo, interesting stuff. MK here says, I think Salah wants to run down his contract. The last contract negotiations were super difficult because he wanted so much money. Imagine that sign-on fee. Yeah, and it'd be interesting to know whether what his role will be. Will he accept the reduced role? Does he know that the end's sort of coming? I think he wants to play in the Champions League, by the way. And now he can do that by running his contract down and leaving on a free. But Liverpool are going to be in an interesting situation where Saudi will offer money again for Salah. They will come back at some point this summer. Do you offer him a new contract and then protect his value, and then you get a season of Mo Salah in the Champions League? You get to really run the rule over whether he's a fading power or not. Salah gets one last hurrah at the big cups, and then he can maybe move on, and Liverpool get a fair fee for him as well. Or do you cash in now? Probably take a lot less than was getting offered last year. But actually, what if Salah doesn't want to move and you run the risk of pissing him off? It's very, very interesting. Official Cam here says, mark my words, Salah will start every game next season for us. No other player would start over him. Hypothetically, I think that's right. But it's whether he can. I know none of us can truly know that, of course. Ash LFC forever. Good question, good point here. Be interesting to see who PSG go for when they lose Mbappe, Salah, Diaz. Who knows? I can't see us getting rid of loads of players from the first team squad. Yeah, I think that's a point for me. For what it's worth, Trent is 100% the no-brainer, because least of all, homegrown footballer. Fantastic footballer, future Hall of Famer for, in the Premier League, but also for Liverpool. One of the best players on the planet. Has redefined the right back role for a new generation, raised the bar beyond what Dani Alves had done prior to him, and Cafu, whatever before that. But this comment, I'll read the super chat from AJ, says, Paul, do you think Trent goes Madrid? Taking my attachment away from LFC, I always wonder what would have happened if Stevie had gone to Madrid. Part of me does want to see Trent in that Madrid side. So I know what you mean, and by that, I don't really want to see him play for Real Madrid, but there is a part of me that loves him and thinks he's a great player, and there is just something to, I could see Trent in a midfield with Jude Bellingham at Real Madrid being an absolute boss and winning La Liga titles and winning Champions Leagues. And some players, this is the thing, football's changed, and Steven Gerrard never got to win the league. Trent's done it. Trent's won everything. There's nothing he's holding on for other than maybe to win it with fans or whatever, or just to win it, and maybe he'll want to stay at his boyhood club forever and ever. But I agree that there's something there where that thing where, look at Bellingham, having seen how he's flourished there, it's hard to begrudge him choosing them over us, as much as it annoyed the life out of me at the time. So yeah, I think the only club Trent would go to would be Real Madrid because of that. But as a result of that, Liverpool needs to move heaven and earth to keep him nailed down, so that if that does materialise, let's say it's in a year or 2 years' time, you're talking world record transfer fee for him. Is what I'd say on that. But yeah, I get what you mean, and I would feel a sense of pride actually of a Scouser being able to go and do that, but also a sense of annoyance that Liverpool aren't there. But that's the thing; it's different. When Gerrard was looking to move, Liverpool weren't competing. 2004. Liverpool have missed out on, the season before, I'd missed out to Chelsea in Champions League terms, and then they go into the Champions League, obviously, in 2004, 2005 with it, and that changes the landscape. But we've been battling to keep Gerrard for the 2 summers prior to that, and he was being convinced on, like, the story and the history and connection to the football club, and being wooed by money and the chance to win and compete for big silverware. I don't think he regrets it, because he gets to lift the European Cup for Liverpool as captain, which will mean more than any other trophy. But Trent doesn't have that. That's not the thing of, like, being stuck around at Liverpool to help Liverpool out and blah, blah, blah. That will be a thing. But yeah, he's completed football. At Liverpool, it's whether he wants to continue to add to that and build a real legacy there. It's not outside the realms of possibility. He could go and do a few years at Real Madrid and then come back and still be a brilliant player for us. But yeah, I wouldn't choose that, obviously. Stuart Armstrong, welcome as a first teamer, mate. Thank you so much for joining us. Right, next on then from the loans, who deserves a crack? So move on to point number 2 then. Tyler Moore and Fabio Carvalho, are really interesting ones. I'll start with Tyler. 21 years old, and I've said before, he's a good height, good physique. He's a 6-footer, similar to Curtis Jones. He's made 41 appearances, all comps, 39 in the Championship this season, 3 goals and 5 assists, 2 FA Cup appearances, just a scant handful of minutes in there. I think Hull were really rotating at that time to keep him fresh as well, which speaks of his value. Now, he splits his time between DM and centre mid, which this is an interesting one, because actually, look at what Liverpool lost with Jordan Henderson. It's someone who I think he's DM first, CM second, or MC second. But the point is that he's got a little bit of versatility, which I think is what you need, because you want to be able to get your minutes in a number of positions. 18 appearances from DM, 17 from centre mid. Very highly thought of from his time there. That's 2 stellar loans for him. Klopp loves him. Now, obviously, that means very little with the new manager coming in, of course, but he was very, very keen on him. And when we had his opportunities a couple of seasons ago for Liverpool, he spoke about how the brain's there and the football ability's there, but he's a boy and he needs to, to fill out. Well, 2 seasons in the Championship will certainly harden you. It did wonders for Harvey Elliott, and that was just one, playing as in an attacking position as well. So yeah, Tyler Morton will be interesting. 1 point here on him says, from Paramveer Singh, says, Bacchetis is ahead in the pecking order. It would depend on what happens with Endo, which also feels criminal to think he leaves already. Else, I would imagine Morton might push for the move out. Scouts Gamer Andy says, Morton, get him a Premier League loan and sell for 20 million plus. See, it's funny because Tyler Morton has fell. So there's one here from Yogi here says, point is, Morton will never be a starter, should sell or loan and not hinder his career. This is the talk that winds me up when we talk about certain players, because I want to know, give me your opinions on Fabio Carvalho. Do you think Fabio Carvalho deserves a shout? I'll get his stats up now. Because it's funny, because Tyler Morton falls into that category of people have seen a bit of him but not really thought of him. He's maybe a bit uncool or whatever. I don't know how, what makes a young footballer cool or not. But like, Tyler Morton has had far more impressive games of football in men's football over the last 2 years than someone like Fabio Carvalho as an interesting point. But Carvalho plays in a more attacking position. I think draws the eye a little bit better. 35 appearances this season across the Bundesliga and the Championship. 9 goals and 2 assists. All of those come in the Championship. He's been split across all kinds of attacking positions. 12 as a centre forward, 7 as attacking midfielder, 11 as a left winger, 4 right winger. 5 as a left winger, 4 as a right winger, 1 in central midfield. In the Bundesliga, they tried him in the front through from the left hand side a bit, didn't really work. In the even had a couple of minutes there in the Champions League, but in the Championship, attacking mid and centre forward, and a little bit on the right wing. So yeah, he's been played much more how he was for Fulham, and they've got him much more set of results out of him that encourage Liverpool to get him in the first place. The issue is that under Klopp, Liverpool don't play a 10, and I think they were hoping that they'd get someone who could do bits in the front three, maybe play a little bit in midfield as well. Kind of like a bit like how we've used Cody Gakpo, a bit how we've used Elliott, and then develop him from there. Whereas it just looks like his best position is false 9, number 10, and you need to really just let him do that. He doesn't seem to be great at doing the other things. He's got a great football sense of arriving and being in the right places at the right times. In terms of arriving and scoring goals, so much in the start of last season, his Newcastle goal being a great one, but he scored against Man City, or he played well against Man City in the League Cup. I think that's right. He's got something. Definitely got something. But yeah, interesting to know. Paranvir, just to extend pointers here, I'm biased to the lads that come through the academy. I would love to see Morton stay and share the role with Bajcetic, but we do lack an experienced DM if Endo goes. See, I'm not convinced Endo goes, but it's an interesting point of, does Arne Slot develop what he's got into world class? And that won't be Endo, but could you develop Bajcetic into a world-class defensive midfielder alongside Tyler Morton, and then share that role out, and then see you kind of, with cover from Endo when you really need that senior sort of head in there? Or do you need to go into the market and buy the next Declan Rice / Rodri? It's an interesting point. Slot's very much a developmental manager, so yeah. Let's see what else you guys have said on that. Paranvir again on the Carvalho stuff. Carvalho was someone we would have to wait and see because he did not play in his 1A position, but again he has to fight out with Sobbo, Elliott and possibly Cody and or Jota. Yeah, absolutely. John Trevina here says Slot will be assessing these kids before any go out, I'd imagine. Roy Joyce says the thing with Morton is that with his lack of athleticism, I think he'll struggle in the system we're going to play. Does he have a lack of athleticism? I wouldn't have said that was necessarily the thing, but I must admit I've not forensically watched them this season, but he seems to get around the pitch pretty well, to be honest. CFM justice for Nat Phillips. Yeah, I'd love to see a bit of Nat Phillips. But yeah, sadly his day at Liverpool seems to have gone, to be honest. Dom Lear says Slot will love Endo, I reckon. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. Let's move things on then. What is 100% missing from the Liverpool squad? Liverpool, let's say, in years gone by, they went big on Van Dijk, they went big on Alisson Becker, they went reasonably big on Fabinho, where you've got to identify a position. You're buying one position. Don't even need to be the player. If you want to give me the player, by all means do. What is the one ultra important transfer priority for Liverpool this summer? Slot, let's say he only makes one and he pours all the budget, throws all of the budget at one player. What is that position? Mike Andrew, straight off the bat, just says a number 9. Yogi Babu says DMC. Centre back says CFM. So yeah, already 3 comments, 3 completely different positions. Interesting. I mean, Alex Rigby just says the next Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, right? Dave says the DM, but issue is I don't think there is one available who would be that one big splash signing. Yeah, that is a point. Feels like the last 18 months, all of the obvious names have all moved. Obviously, Ugarte got the move, Rice got the move, Caicedo got the move, Enzo Fernandez got his move. And then Liverpool were kind of left with a bunch of, we'd be all right, a bunch of like make do and mend solutions. Tony says a world-class number 10 Verts. Do Liverpool need to go and buy 10s? Now that's going to be interesting. Is that something Slot's going to do? Will he need a 10? Will Bill says DM. Patrick Coakley says we need a Robbie Fowler. Jota is class but too injury prone. That yeah, I think that's a really big conversation. There's a lot of people talking about obviously Darwin Núñez's future. We did a big chat on that on the podcast this week as well. Highly recommend checking that out. The need for do we need a Fernando Torres rather than that? But does one exist? You can forever chasing number 9s, and look, we've seen this again in the Premier League. DMs and centre forwards, everyone's been trying to get the next great one, and you saw it. Haaland was the prime target. Haaland was the one. Darwin Núñez was the second best there around. Newcastle boxed Isaac. You've got Nicholas Jackson at Chelsea, Højlund at Manchester United. There's a lot of people, but then you start to go down and down and down. Has that list been refreshed? Is there now another Erling Haaland? Is there now someone else out there who's just going to score 30 goals? And is he available? Or is it still Harry Kane, Haaland, Lewandowski? Is it still all the same? Osimhen, is he still at that level? I really don't know. Parambeer says, can I cheat and say centre back who can play CDM too, since we have Joey G who can play across the back line? Interesting. Official Cam, Ollie Watkins to Liverpool. I feel like, maybe. Harris is Wharton from Palace is a very good midfield option. Mr. J Mango, Andrew Trindade, dear God, remember him? Apparently with 35 million from early in the season, but he rejected due to his commitments to his club. That felt like one of them mad ones that was like he was an option, but never really, really the option. And of course, what we'll find out is he even on Michael Edwards' list anymore? Interesting, really interesting. Paul Russell, this might be the answer, by the way, a fast goal-scoring winger. See, my sense here is, if it were me, and this might change in coming weeks, I'll do more in-depth stuff on this over the summer and whatever, but I think Liverpool win the league this season if we'd been in the market for Declan Rice. But unfortunately, by the time that deal's done, when that's being done, we Liverpool have got defensive midfielders, Liverpool own Henderson and Fabinho. I don't, when that's agreed, when Rice is all sewn up, and that was the problem with Caicedo. Chelsea already had him sewn up, even if they didn't have the fee agreed. So I think this summer you need to go and buy that. Look, it might be Bajcetic. I would love it to be Bajcetic. I think he is sensational. And maybe it will be him. But without knowing that, if I wanted to go out and bank, I'd be going out finding a banker of a 24-year-old, 6'3", sort of can do the lot defensive midfielder. And buy him for whatever it takes. And then additionally, I'd be looking at I'd sign Mo Salah down to a contract extension, but also be willing to accept a bid for him. Sign Virgil down to a contract extension, because even if he is getting older, he's the captain. You need to keep your winners. You need to keep the line of succession going. Hold on to your title winners as long as you can, who've got the right attitude and play at the brilliant level, so they can teach the next lot. And then hopefully win a league title, and then they can teach the lot that follows. That's what Man United did wrong after Ferguson left. Their guys were too old, and they couldn't keep the line of succession going. It was broken by Moyes, etc., etc. But by someone who can understudy Virgil competently this summer, and by someone super fast who can understudy Mo as well, and that'll be it for me. Outs and upgrades, just quickly then. Let me know these in the comments. Who are your obvious players that you're moving on, and where therefore are the positions that you would be looking to add in the summer as well? The obvious one for me, I think you move on. I don't think you need to replace Joel Matip, because I think we've replaced Joel Matip with Kwanzaa, and Gomez's versatility helps us in that regard, particularly because Bradley's emergence means you can play Bradley more at right back as well. So Gomez can be a bit more back in the centre-back pool. But I think you get rid of Costas and you buy a left-footed centre-half who can do a bit of left-backy stuff as well, and that would be the one for me. And look, there's a conversation over the 9, but I think I would give Darwin and Gakpo another season, and get a super pacey winger in as the Salah understudy, and that would be laughing for me. Look, Owen, sorry, makes this point. I'm not sure Slot will have much influence with the transfers this summer as its first summer season Edwards is back. Yeah, you're right. But the list will be pooled from Edwards. And look, bear in mind, Arne Slot will go. And I said this last week when I was talking about Gid Tweeder. He'll go. From my current players, I really like this guy, and this guy. What do you guys think, Liverpool Analytics Department? And they'll go, no, maybe, yes. Or no. And then they'll just wipe it off and so they'll go, okay, cool. And they'll go and find better players. But it's possible. It is possible. Someone like Eze would be interested in Ebecherri. Eze, would he be the one who ticks the boxes for you? Let me know in the comments. Yeah. Okay, that. Loads more of this sort of discussion to come. Keep your answers coming in the comment section underneath. We've got weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of having these big debates, and my God, we're going to cover them over on redmenplus.com. And if you want to join us for all the Slot insight that you're going to get, the biggest archive of Arne Slot insight that you're going to find anywhere on the internet right now is on redmenplus.com. We've got a code for you. Get it half price for a year. Use the code SLOT. Look, there. Use the code SLOT. Get a Captain yearly subscription for half price. All those great videos that Dan has done. All those videos that Dan has done. Right there, yeah. They'd be brilliant. Yeah, head over to redmenplus.com. All the summer transfers, the end of the season and beyond as well. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you all very soon. Ta-ra. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the content today. If you want to get your name in and amongst these wonderful people, then head to redmenplus.com. Join as a legend tier subscriber. You're going to get free merchandise codes. You're going to get in our Discord, and you're going to get your name at the end of YouTube videos. Yes, redmenplus.com, legend tier status.